Hello and welcome back to Gridiron Gurus. My name is Luke and joining with me is
Ryan Green.
and today we're doing our week one predictions for each game. So we're just gonna run through all the games, say our winner, talk a little bit about each game, not much, but and we're gonna keep a tally, I think, over the course of this year probably, and see who's smarter at the end of the year. And then the other person has to, do something. Not actually, Ryan will have to be be my little slave for a week. But
Like always.
yeah, but so we start out Thursday night. This video should be up by like Wednesday. So like tomorrow, we got Ravens at Chiefs, rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. I'm gonna take the Chiefs because I saw a stat the other day that like teams that are like playing the team that knocked them out in the playoffs, like week one, almost never win. Also, I think the Chiefs are pretty good and they're going to be getting their rings. So I don't think they're going to lose on, like, what is it? Ring night or whatever it's called? The ceremony, ring ceremony?
Well, they did lose to the Lions week
Yeah, but I
one
don't.
last year.
Yeah, but they had a lot of extenuating circumstances. They had Kadarius Toney starting at wide receiver. Um, so, but I think the Chiefs are going to win. And I think that the Ravens are going to miss some of the defensive players they lost from last year, or defense coordinator they lost. So,
Sure. I'm actually going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think that every single year, and I have a couple of these kind of games, there are games that week one, there's always like a bunch of blow up about like, oh, the Ravens. They got like I'm just gonna pull a Stephen A. Smith here. The Ravens are finally able to defeat the Chiefs. He was saying like that kind of thing of like like overblow it like the Ravens are the team to beat now that they beat the Chiefs. And there's always this kind of thing of like week one doesn't really matter. And so I think that the Ravens are going to beat the Chiefs, and it's going to be Derrick Henry rush for 2 touchdowns. So like everybody's going to talk about Derrick Henry like going to the Ravens is like, oh, now they're really unlocking their potential. But like I have a couple of these kind of games where like I can see them going either way, but I'm thinking of like narrative wise, like the Ravens winning would be like one of those big deals if they were able
yeah.
to on Thursday night.
I mean, this is going to be a very good opening game, so I'm excited for it. But then actually, we have a Friday night game.
Yes, we do.
Surprisingly, we have a good Friday night game too, or at least it should be. Packers at Eagles. We'll just flip flop every time you start, then I start, then you start, then I start. So you give your prediction on this one first.
So I got the Eagles. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think that there's a lot of like roster turnover for the Eagles, so it might be like one of those things where like the Packers might go up a little bit because they've had like a little bit of a cohesion because they don't really have that much moving parts outside of like obviously like Josh Jacobs coming in, but I think seeing that new defense is another thing too that's going to be tricky for the Eagles. But I think their offense is going to explode in the second half, and then it's going to be it's going to be a very fun game to watch for Brazil. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles as well. I really like the Packers this year, but I said at Eagles, didn't I? It's not at the Eagles.
It's technically a home game for the Eagles, right? But it's like at Brazil.
Yeah, but I'm taking the Eagles. I think they are going to like their offense is going to be a lot more like interesting, I guess is the word I use, like dynamic. And so I'm going to take them. I think that defense is really upgraded. I'm interested to see a little bit how Cam Jurgens replaces Kelsey, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a drop off as everyone thinks. Obviously, going from like maybe the best center in football to, I think, still very good. I think it's going to be still a very good center. But the Eagles just have so many weapons, and everybody's healthy week one. We're going to be in for a very good game, but I'm going to take the Eagles. So now we go to our first of the Sunday slate. Now we got all these noon games. We'll start with my team, Texans at Colts. I get to lead with this one because it's my team, and also we're flip flopping every single time. Last year I picked against the Texans just about every single week because I couldn't bring myself to pick for them. But this year I'm going to start out on a good note, and I'm going to pick us to win.
Wow.
I know, and if we lose this week, I'm going straight back to picking against us every single week. But I'm gonna take us to win week 1. Hopefully, we start on a good note. I think I saw Anthony Richardson. I'm not super afraid of him as much as I was because he looked really lost as a passer at times, and I think our defense is upgraded a lot. We have a lot more. I think our pass rush is going to be really good. Will Anderson year 2 plus Danielle Hunter. Christian Harris won't be playing, which is kind of a big loss because he was really good against Lamar last year. So I was really excited to see him play against same kind of role against Anthony Richardson. But I think our linebacking core will be able to hold it down. I think we're going to win because our offense is just going to be really explosive. And the secondary of the Colts is their weak point, and our passing game should be the strongest point of our team. So who do you got?
I got the Texans too. I think this is one of those games where I think Anthony Richardson is probably going to throw 2 interceptions. One's going to be very, very dumb. The other one's going to be a good play by probably Derek Stingley or something like that. And I see the Texans winning. I think that's one of the things where it's going to be a early demonstration of the Texans are going to try to win this division again. Because when's the last time you won the division back to back?
Not too long ago, I don't think.
Okay. But I think that's another thing.
17, 18, something like that.
17, 18. Like I said, I think the Texans should be able to win this one. Like I said, your offense should be good right out the gate. Not having Christian Harris is going to hurt, but I think Alshire is really good. And then who's the other one? Toto, yeah, from Alabama too, both Alabamas. I think he's going to be at least serviceable until you get Christian Harris back. So
yeah. Now we got a very good game here too. I think it's going to be a really good one. It's Cards versus Bills, or Cardinals at Bills.
Yes.
We get the Cardinals have Kyler Murray healthy the whole time, or the whole season, or should start the season at least. Who do you have in this game?
I have it a lot closer than it's probably a lot of people are thinking because I can't remember what the spread is, but I think the spread's a little bit bigger than I would have probably put it. But I still think the Bills are going to win. I think the Bills
Buffalo's 6.5.
defense. Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be closer to like a 4 or 3 point game. And that's where people are starting to are going to be doubting the Bills. But I think the Cardinals are going to be a very scrappy team. They're going to be with pretty much any team that they play against. Even though they might still have a little bit of a talent gap. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how there's the Bills secondary does against Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that Josh Allen should be able to, I'm interested to see how the Cardinals secondary is because the Cardinals are one of those wild cards to me that I don't know how their season is going to go. I just feel like they're going to be in every single game. But I still think that the Bills should win this one. I do think it's going to be a close game.
I'm going with the Bills too. I think the Bills will cover here. I worry a lot about that. Like the Cardinals, I think were they the worst run defense last year? One of them.
I think so. They were they're the best. They're the best running team. They're one of the best running teams, but one of the worst run defense teams.
Yeah, I mean,
the reason why they got
they addressed front seven a lot in the draft, but I still the Bills are going to want to run the ball. They got James Cook, they got Josh Allen, they got Ray Davis, so they're going to want to run the ball, and I just worry it's not going to be upgraded enough for the Cardinals, and I think the Bills will be able to kind of average 5 yards a carry on them and just kind of will them down. I think the Cardinals are going to put up points. I think the trio of McBride, Harrison, Kyler, and James Conner too. I think they're going to be able to keep up, but I just worry after a while the Bills are just going to keep running. They're going to get 6 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards a carry, and just keep churning out first downs where they just keep the offense off the field for the Cardinals. But I think the Cardinals are going to be a good scrappy team this year. I just don't like the matchup there for the Bills and Cardinals. I'm also taking the Bills. Next game is Patriots at Bengals. Not a great game in my opinion. It should be a blowout. It's Bengals only 8.5, which is kind of a little
Yeah.
low. Like even though they're at home, that seems a little weird to me. I guess they might be baking in Chase not playing.
Yeah.
That could be a factor, but even if Chase doesn't play, I still think the Bengals are going to win. And if Chase plays, like if something comes out like I don't know tomorrow or the next day or two, that oh yeah, Jamar Chase is going to play week 1. Yeah, to take the Bengals to cover this points. I think they win by like 10, 14 points. Not super competitive game here.
Yeah, I don't think this is one of those games where it's like a week 1, like what in the world is going on with the Bengals. I think because the Patriots are so bad, and even though obviously losing DJ Reader is going to be very impactful, but you're going against a really awful offensive line to start out. So I think having like those rookies, if this is their first game into it, I think they're going to be able to do pretty decently. And you still have a good defense. You still have an amazing offense. So you should be able to pretty handily win this game against the Patriots. So I got the Bengals too.
Yeah. I'd be very surprised if the Patriots win this game. Actually, I'd be more than surprised. I'd be shocked.
Yes.
Next, we've got Vikings at Giants. A rematch of 2 years ago's was it wild card or
Wild
was it
card.
divisional?
Yeah.
Wild card.
It was a
round?
wild card because remember the Vikings went one and done.
Yeah. Vikings at Giants. Who do you got?
So I got the Vikings mainly because I'm super duper low on the Giants, but I think that this is going to be, I want to say, a very sloppy game, and so I'm thinking that the Vikings defense is going to be a little bit better than the Giants defense. Going to be a low scoring game. I don't like both quarterbacks, but overall, I think the Vikings have a better team, so I'm going to take the Vikings. But like I said, I think it's going to be it's like 13-10 games. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, like this is two of the worst teams. That kind of game.
I don't think it'll be that bad. You said you took Vikings, right?
Yeah, I took Vikings. Yeah,
I'm also taking the Vikings, but I think they're going to put up a solid amount of points. I think they'll put up in the 20s here. I think Sam Darnold's going to be all right week 1. Aaron Jones will be healthy at least for this game. I don't know how he'll fare the rest of the season, but you got Justin Jefferson, you got Aaron Jones. The offensive line's good for the Vikings. The defense, they definitely put in a lot of effort to upgrade that defensive unit. So I think the defense will be good. The defense for the Giants will be pretty good. The front 7 at least.
I'm worried about their back half.
Yeah, they're worried about the back half, but the front 7 should be pretty good. But I think the Vikings have too many weapons, and I think they're balanced enough on both sides of the ball. I feel pretty confident about Stefanski getting the most out of Sam Darnold. And Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson.
You mean O'Connell?
O'Connell, yeah, not Stefanski.
Is Sean McVay clone.
Yeah, Sean McVay. But I feel confident about O'Connell getting the most out of Sam Darnold here, and Justin Jefferson's going to put up points. I think the Vikings win. I think the Vikings win by a touchdown or something like that. The line is -2, but I think that's a little, I don't know, that's a little low in my opinion. And then we got Caleb Williams' debut here, Titans at Bears. You got Will Levis, you got Mayo Boy versus Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take the Bears. I'm gonna take the Bears to win in their debut. I like what the Titans did this offseason. Obviously, they're a rival. I don't love the Titans, but I do like what they did this offseason. I think Will Levis is going to be solid. I like them addressing a lot of areas of that offensive. They addressed the offensive line. They got some running backs to replace Derrick Henry. They got Calvin Ridley. D-Hop's not going to play week 1, I don't believe. But the defense, it's okay. Front 7 outside of Jeffrey Simmons is still meh. In the back half, I do worry about a little bit. But I think Caleb Williams' debut, he's got the 3 receivers. I think he's going to be able to throw a good amount on the secondary. So I think Caleb is actually going to have a week 1 where he's everyone's oh my goodness, he threw for 300 yards. Is he going to be better than CJ Stroud was last year? I think that'll come down to earth a little bit later, but he's going to be really good in his debut, and I think they're going to win.
So I'm going to go in a different direction. I can't remember the exact stat, but I know that rookie QBs usually don't do well in their first game, and I'm interested to see how L'Jarius Sneed goes up against DJ Moore. Obviously, like I think that the Bears have improved significantly. I still think their offensive line is a little bit of a concern, so it's interesting to see how they're going to do with against Jeffrey Simmons. And I also like Harold Landry. I think he's not like a top tier pass rusher or anything like that, but like he's still solid. And I think that like the same exact feeling that I have with the Cardinals, I have with the Titans. I think they're going to be scrappy, and I think that this is one of those games where like I think they're going to be able to run the ball against a actually pretty good run defense in the Bears, and it's going to kind of surprise some people. I'm taking the Titans as one of the like I said, every single week one, there's always like a couple of games that make a whole bunch of talking points for that first
Yeah.
4 weeks of the season of just like, oh my goodness, this is going to be the worst. This is going to be the worst season for this team, or like oh we're sleeping on this team and stuff like that. So I think this is one of the other games that I have that's going to be like those games that the Titans are going to beat the Bears. I think Caleb Williams might actually make a couple of mistakes, and then people are going to be like, not necessarily being totally against him week one. I don't think that's going to happen because he has too much hype. But I don't think it's going to be a 300-yard game to start off because that's
Yeah.
not how like CJ Stroud had either.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans won. I think they're a solid team. I think Will Levis is going to have a good year. But now we get to the Arthur Smith revenge game.
Yes,
We've got Steelers at Falcons. Is it you or is it me?
It's me. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'm going with the Falcons. Home field advantage. I think that Steelers have a lot of question marks on offense. Obviously, outside of George Pickens, and I mean you still have like Freiermuth as your tight end, but your wide receivers I don't have the biggest faith in. I wasn't a huge Roman Wilson fan. Obviously, Van Jefferson has been bounced around for a while now. So like I'm not the biggest fan of like your weapons either. Not the biggest fan of your quarterbacks. I haven't been. I wasn't the biggest Justin Fields fan coming out, and I'm still not. I think he has, a whole bunch of potential that you can look at, but can he put everything together? I don't think Arthur Smith is going to be that person to bring everything out for Justin Fields either. So I think that Falcons get their first win in season, and they desperately need it because their first half of the season, like schedule wise, is really really rough. So
Yeah.
Falcons win this one.
You're gonna take the Falcons? I'm taking the
Yep.
Steelers.
Oh, okay.
I think I just I just know Tom was gonna go 500, and I think this is gonna be one of the games that he wins. And I think Arthur Smith is gonna. It'd be so funny to me. Arthur Smith comes out in Atlanta and he uses all of his weapons, and he's throwing it all over the place. He's like deploying Pat Fryermuth like the way he should have deployed Kyle Pitts. That would be the funniest thing in the world to me. But also, I just think that I think the Steelers are going to be able to run the ball, and they're going to have they're healthy on defense at least for week one, and they've got enough playmakers there on defense that I think like Kirk Cousins coming back from an ACL, I don't think it's going to be like the worst thing ever. He's just not going to be very mobile. I think they'll be able. I think Kirk might make a mistake, and I think that they're just going to run the ball, the Steelers, over and over, and this defense is going to make some plays. I think T.J. Watt is a monster, and I think he's going to make a couple monster plays, and he's going to squeak out a win here, like by like maybe a field goal late or something like that. So that's a differ we have there, and then we've got two more noon games. We've got Jags at Dolphins. This one to me, it's not like, oh, it's apparent because the Jags are a bad team, but it's because it's at Miami early in the season, and we know how electric they are early in the season. And so I'm
It's
taking the
also
Dolphins.
matchup wise too.
Yeah, like Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to put up a lot of points here because the secondary for the Jags is a little bit weak. And like I like the pass rush potential against the offensive line of the Dolphins, but everyone's healthy on this offense for the Dolphins. You got A-Chain, you got Tyreek, Waddle. I like the addition of tight end. I'm blanking on
Uh,
his name again.
Johnny Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Like I like him as a yak guy as tight end. Kind of they haven't had that in this offense, so I think they're going to put up a lot of points. I want to see how the defense plays for the Dolphins, but I'm also not terrified of Trevor Lawrence either. So
Like I said, I'm going with the Dolphins too, but the reason why I'm interested to see how Jaguars pass rush will go against the Dolphins offensive line, because obviously Trayvon Walker had a decent season last year. He's starting to kind of finally break out. Obviously, Josh Allen. What was the high? Is Allen
Hines Ward, like Josh Allen Hines
Hines? Yeah,
Ward,
Allen Hines. That's what it's right. Like obviously he's going to be dominant, and then you add on there with Armstead too. Like
Hines
that's
Allen.
a
Yeah,
yeah, Hines
Hines
Allen.
Allen.
Like I think that's a really really good like pass rush, but the bread and butter for the Dolphins is getting the ball up early and often, and so are they even going to have time to really put pressure on him? So that's the reason why I'm saying like their speed is going to be absolutely able to cook up this Jaguars defense, and especially like depending on like how hot it is, and it should be stinking hot in
Mm-hmm.
Miami. It's gonna be ugly.
Yeah. So that leads us to our final noon game of the day, on Sunday, and that's your Panthers going to the Saints. Who do you have?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious who I'm going to go with. I'm actually going to go with the Saints. I obviously I want to go with the Panthers, but in my opinion, I think the Panthers are going to come out pretty slow. Obviously, there was a lot of critiques towards Dave Canales for not really playing the starters in preseason, except for like one drive in the Bills game. I'm not against it, but I do think there are some setbacks, especially because like it's a whole new group, and obviously like this is a very important game to start week one going against a division opponent. I think the Saints, their defense still should be good. I'm still so mad they got Khalil McKinstry. I wanted him so bad, but anyways, I think that their secondary is going to be amazing. I'm interested to see how Brian Brzee is going to go in year two. They've had a really rough time trying to find another good defensive lineman to kind of help out Cameron Jordan, who's also taking a step back. I'm not the biggest fan of their offense. Like I like their weapons, but I'm not the biggest fan of really Alvin Kamara. I'm not the biggest fan of Derek Carr either. So I think it's gonna be a close game, like they have been the last couple of years. But I still think the Saints are gonna come out, unfortunately, and win.
Uh, I almost took the Panthers. I almost did, but I worry about y'all's defense. I don't love the Panthers offense or Saints offense either, but the matchup of y'all's offense versus their defense and their offense versus y'all's defense is very drastic. And I think y'all keep it close. I do. That Saints crowd is big and they're loud and they care a lot about their team, so they're going to show out. And so I think Bryce is going to have a good day. I really think Bryce is going to have a bounce back season. Yeah, he'll actually have time to protect. He has some solid weapons now. Like you said, I think you might start out slow, and I just worry that like the Saints won't. Like the Saints could jump out to a 10-0, 14-0 lead, and then it's just kind of playing catch up a little bit later. And it's just Yale's defense. I don't know how great it holds up, especially losing Brian Burns. You lost a good amount of players that were like impactful for you last year. And it's just I know you like your defense coordinator, but like at a point you have to have players that can play. So that takes us now into the afternoon slate of games, and our first game is Raiders at Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's first game back in the National Football League. I'm taking the Raiders to win though.
I am too.
I think this defense of the Raiders is going to be nasty. I mean, Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins. I like some players in the secondary, but they're gonna be tough. And like this offensive line of the Chargers is no joke. It's gonna be good,
Yes.
and they're gonna run the ball. but the Raiders, I think, are going to be able to stop the ball. I want to see how Tyree Wilson plays. I am interested to see that. Like I saw some stuff they might kick him inside.
Yes, they need to.
They do need to, and I think Christian Wilkins is the guy that you can play him next to inside because he's going to take up space and eat up blocks. But like if you can get some good play out of Tyree Wilson, that'll add another pass rusher on this defensive line. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think Minshew's going to be good enough to get the ball to all the weapons. You've got Mayer, you got Bowers, Adams. You've got a lot of weapons there. I like Zamir White a bit. So I think the Raiders will do enough. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Both these teams honestly could end up below 20 points, but I think the Raiders will win.
Yeah. Like I said, I agree too. One of the things too is just to notice is last year, a little bit of coming out party for Malcolm Kuntz from Buffalo. Liked him coming out 2 years ago. I think that he has potential to be that number 2 guy because I wasn't high on Tyree Wilson, but he's kind of disappointed heavily, especially who they could have gotten. But like I said, I still think this defense is going to be really good. I think because of Christian Wilkins, is going to, like I said, it's going to free up Max Crosby, and he's always been dominant against the run too. So it should be interesting to see how like this defensive line goes against this offensive line. That's probably what's going to determine who wins this game. But like I said, I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think that it's going to be a close game. I agree with you. Minshew should be able to do just enough, and this should be like the step in the right direction for the Raiders as an organization.
Yeah. Then we go to the next afternoon game is Broncos at Seahawks. You want to take the lead on this one? You got it. Who do you have?
So I always like to pick certain teams that I think that if they win week 1, they're going to be super duper high for the season, as most teams are. And in my opinion, if the Broncos win week 1 against the Seahawks, this is like the brand new era because they got rid of Russell Wilson and that whole entire deal went flat. And then now they're with the new guy on Bo Nix, who I was still high on. If I'm picking the Broncos to win, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be one of those games where, like, people think the Broncos are going in the right direction. I still think they're going to have a rough year, but I think they're going to win week 1, be one of like the darlings for week 1 is like, oh, this is going to be a really good year. And then slowly but surely the year kind of dissolves into a little bit of mess, but Bo Nix still shows potential.
I disagree. I think the Seahawks are going to win. I think the Seahawks are actually going to like kind of blow them out, in my opinion. I really like Brian Grubb as an offensive coordinator. He was great at Washington. He was great in the week he was at Alabama for. But I think this offense is going to be good. I think they're going to utilize their strengths a lot more. They've been raving about Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to have a really good year. Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, they are going to be able to throw the ball a lot. And I like this offensive line's. It's worrisome a little bit, but I also like the defensive pieces that they have. I love their young cornerbacks that they have on defense, and I love some of the pieces they have in the front seven. And I think Mike McDonald is going to be a good coach, and I think they're going to come out and they're going to beat the Broncos by like 10 plus points. And it's going to be like a statement win for Mike McDonald in week 1. And we're going to be like, is Sean Payton washed? And I think, honestly, my hot take for the season is going to be that by the end of the season, Sean Payton's going to be fired.
That would be interesting too, because if he handpicked
yeah. And then now we got Cowboys at Browns. I'm gonna take the boys. Dem boys. They didn't do jack crap over the offseason. They just said that Rico Dowdle's now their starting running back, which is interesting. But man, you got CeeDee Lamb, you got Jake Ferguson, you got a great offensive line, you got Dak, you still got playmakers on defense. I like Mike Zimmer as defense coordinator. I think that's kind of just even a lateral move. I don't think you're downgrading at all. So I think the Cowboys are going to come out. I think they're going to have I think the Browns are going to be a good team, but until Watson can show me that he can play, I'm not going to pick like them to be able to do great things on offense until he shows me that. So I'm taking the Cowboys.
I'm taking the Cowboys too. win by 14. So, in my
Dang.
opinion, I think no. So here's the reason, but
I got
why
the stupid
is
fly in my
because
face. Holy crap.
I think that
All
the Browns defense will still be good, maybe not as good as they were last year. I think that the Dallas Cowboys still have enough talent that they can be able to win a good bit of games, and a lot of people were kind of doubting them a little bit too. But I am very down on Deshaun Watson, and I think that he's going to make a couple of really bad decisions that are going to cause like the Cowboys to be up. And without really Nick Chubb being totally back, I like Ford, but I'm not the biggest Ford fan. And I, overall, I'm not high on the Browns because of their quarterback situation, and it's going to be a very long year, in my opinion. If you're a Browns fan,
Yeah. Now we have commies versus Bucks. New regime in Washington. Uh, but oh no, it's your pick. You go first here. I was messing up here. You got first.
you say Commanders and Bucks.
Yeah, Commanders and
Oh
Bucks.
yeah. I think this is going to be one of those games that's going to be a little bit more high scoring than people are going to think. I think that the Bucks defense, like, I'm interested to see how they're going to do without Carlton Davis. I'm just still a big fan of Jamel Dean, obviously being Auburn fan myself, but um, the Bucks are in an interesting situation where like there's a lot of very very young talent that you're hoping that still kind of like blossoms. Obviously, Todd Bowles is a good defense coach. They're not the best head coach, but and I think that Baker might take a step back, but with how bad um, I think the offensive line is going to be for the Commanders, that I think Jaden Daniels might make a couple of mistakes, and that's what's going to cause the Buccaneers to win. I think Jane Daniels is going to have kind of a bad first game because of the fact that Vita Vea is going to eat that offensive line. I'm just going to be straight up with you. Like, I love Vita Vea, and that offensive line is pretty atrocious. So
Yeah.
I have the Bucks winning, but I think it's going to be like a little bit of a high score, a little bit more of a high scoring game that people are going to be thinking it is.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks too. I'm just looking at it. Todd Bowles blitzing versus this Commanders offensive line. Big mismatch. I just also think the Bucks are more talented. I think more proven. I think they're take a step back this year for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
not. I think the Commanders are still going to have. It's going to take them a bit to find their groove with Jaden Daniels. And now we have our Sunday night game is a rematch between the Rams and the Lions, last year's divisional round game. Two teams that we are both very high on.
Yes.
I'm going to take the Lions to start their season out with a win in a close matchup. This Puka Nakua is nursing I think it's a hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, both these teams are healthy. The Rams' offensive line is going to be really good. They're going to be able to run the ball, but the Lions can stop the run. They're good at it. So, like, if Puka Nakua was like completely healthy and I had no reserves about him, it might be a little bit different. But both these teams are going to put up points. Both these teams are going to be like good this entire year. Like, this is nothing unless like one team just absolutely beats the brakes off of one of these teams. Nothing's like, in my opinion, is going to change. But I think the Lions are going to take it out. It's at home, and the Lions are going to like be like, all right, they're going to make a statement and say, okay, we're coming for the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. So I'm gonna go with the Lions as well, mainly because of the fact like with Puka Nakua being probably gonna be out, and also the fact too, like you have Lions have explosive offense. I think that even though the Rams defense line is young, I think they're still talented, but I'm interested to see how they're gonna do together. So that's still like a little bit of a mystery without having Aaron Donald. Like I said, we're still both very high on the Rams. I'm picking the Lions, and I think this is going to be one of those games you look back on and be like, because the Lions win this game, it's very important as far as seeding wise in the NFC.
Yeah, no, this is actually like we could look back in like 3 months and be like, oh, this is like a tiebreaker between the Rams and the Lions. Or
Yeah.
this game was like what gave the Lions the 2 seed or the 1 seed or something like that. Now we have the Monday night game. Solid Monday night game. We have the Jets at the Niners. Let's see if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy longer than 3 snaps. But who do you have in this one?
And as tradition on Monday night games, we'll also do score predictions too. So my score prediction is 49ers 24, Jets 20. I think that the Niners are going to go off on the right foot. It's a very defensive game. I think that both Brock Purdy and Aaron Rodgers are going to throw an interception against two really good defenses. And I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those things where people are going to start to blame Aaron Rodgers, especially if they lose off of an interception or if they lose off of like a missed opportunity. And so there starts to be kind of that narrative to start out the season for the Jets, like, oh, when we're supposed to get Aaron Rodgers, we're supposed to make a playoff run. Like I said, I still think they're going to have that happen, but so there's always some kind of overreaction that happens week one. 49ers win 24-20, start off on the right foot, even after like a very, very off season that has a lot of distractions, that's for sure.
I'm actually going to take the Jets. And I just flip-flopped like 10 seconds ago in my mind. I think that this Jets defense, I think that there's been a thing with Brandon Ayuk not playing, Trent Williams not playing. I think that there could be a little bit of like rustiness a little bit with this offense against a really good defense. I mean, this defense, like Quinnen Williams, like the thing with the Niners is everyone thinks they have some really good offensive line. They don't.
It's just Trent
outside of Trent Williams. And Quinnen Williams is one of the best defensive players in the league. He's going to be having a mismatch against whoever's trying to guard him in the interior. I don't think Hassan Reddick's playing, but they still have a bunch of other guys. I'm interested to see William McDonald, right?
Mm-hmm.
McDonald, yeah. I want to see him year 2
from Iowa State, yeah.
Yeah, they've still got some other players on the defensive front. The secondary is really good. Like they can match up very well against Debo and Ayuk and Kittle. And I think that the Jets are going to have, like, I like this Niners defense a lot. But I think the Jets are going to do enough. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play a clean game of football. This offensive line is healthy, like at least for week 1. They're going to be able to run the ball a lot better than they were last year. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams is healthy. So I think at least in week 1, they're going to have a lot better like odds because these players will get hurt because that's what happens with not only the Jets, but also a lot of these players and how their careers have gone. But I think the Jets are going to win 26-21. And that's going to kind of be like the big thing of the week is like, oh, Niners a little bit Super Bowl hangover maybe, and Jets like, oh, is Aaron Rodgers like is this Jets team like legit? So that's going to be
Aaron Rodgers is the Jets savior, like that.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is still a good quarterback, and people are hating on him unnecessarily. He's still an all-time great quarterback and maybe one of the top 5 or 6 best quarterbacks we've ever seen to play this game. And I think he's going to have I don't think he's going to put up like 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, but 250 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns. Breece Hall, he lets Breece Hall have some room to actually work and be one of the most electric players in the NFL. Gets the ball to Garrett Wilson. I like it. I think this defense is going to bait Purdy into a mistake or two. And this defense can eat against the rest of this offensive line. So that's my prediction. We differed on that one, obviously, but really excited for NFL to be back. Football's back in full swing. Obviously, college, almost all the colleges kicked off this last weekend. Florida State sucks. Love to see it. But football's officially back, and now we're excited we can do our predictions again. So, yes. coming at you in this new format. We'll be posting on like Twitter and TikToks and YouTube, obviously, and Spotify still. So, looking forward to a long and hopefully good season, and both of our teams hopefully, kind of live up to our expectations. So, but that's been this episode. We will see y'all next week for our week 1 recap about like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 games, and then our week 2 predictions. So until then, y'all have a good one and see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.